Today this is the last day of studying chapter 8 of Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, Krishna book chapter 8. We've just heard of some of the glories of Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj, and Parikshit Maharaj is astounded at their good fortune. He asked the following question to Sukadeva Goswami. Having heard of the great fortune of Mother Yasoda, Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, O learned Brahman, Mother Yasoda's breast milk was sucked by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What pious, auspicious activities did she and Nanda Maharaj perform to achieve such perfection in ecstatic love? Srimad Bhagavatam 10:8-46. Now, within this 10th canto, up to this time, this is the third question that Parikshit Maharaj has inquired from Sukadeva Goswami to carry on and encourage Sukadeva Goswami to keep speaking about the pastimes of Sri Krishna. So this is the first question that Parikshit Maharaj asked at the very beginning of the 10th canto. King Parikshit said, kindly describe the wonderful, glorious activities of Lord Vishnu or Krishna, who appeared in that Yadu dynasty with Baladev, his plenary expansion. Please tell me elaborately about his glorious activities and character from the beginning to the end of his life. So this is 10:1, verses 1 through 3. This is after he has just heard about the Soma dynasty and the Surya dynasty, and from them, the Yadu dynasty, and how Sri Krishna appeared in the Yadu dynasty. So from that introduction, he wanted to hear all about Krishna's pastimes. This was the first question. Now, question number 2. Generally, we are reluctant to hear about the activities of the Lord, but Krishna's childhood activities are so attractive that they are automatically pleasing to the mind and ear. Thus, one's attachment for hearing about material things, which is the root cause of material existence, vanishes, and one gradually develops devotional service to the Supreme Lord, attachment for Him, and friendship with devotees who give us the contribution of Krishna consciousness. If you think it fitting, kindly speak about those activities of the Lord. So this was the 10th canto, 7th chapter, verse number 2. After Parikshit Maharaj had heard about the killing of Putana, he was very enthusiastic to hear more. And he explains here a very important law, that if we hear about material things, we develop attachment for those things. And from that attachment, that is the root cause of material existence. But if we hear about Krishna's Leela, we become attached to the Supreme Lord and develop a desire to engage in devotional service and associate with the devotees of the Lord. Because it's from the devotees of the Lord that we can hear more about Krishna and then increase our love and our friendship with Krishna. So this was question number 2. Now, today we heard question number 3. And this is the purport that Prabhupada gives to the question that Sukadeva Goswami, that Parikshit Maharaj asked, that how did Mother Yasoda become so fortunate that Sri Krishna drank her milk? As stated in Bhagavad-Gita 7:16, Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritin arjuna. Without sukriti, or pious activities, no one can come to the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is approached by 4 kinds of pious men: Arto, Jigyasur, Arthi, and Gyani Cha. But here we see that Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda surpassed all of them. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj naturally inquired, what kind of pious activities did they perform in their past lives by which they achieved such a stage of perfection? Of course, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda are accepted as the father and mother of Krishna. Yet Mother Yashoda was more fortunate than Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, because Nanda Maharaj was sometimes separated from Krishna, whereas Yashoda, Krishna's mother, was not separated from Krishna at any moment. Purport 10.8.46. So the type of pious men that approach the Supreme Lord, first is arto, those who are in distress. So they approach the Lord and they pray to Him to free them from distress. Then jigyasu, they're curious. They want to find out more about the Lord. Arti, those who desire something from the Lord. And the Gyanis, those who have knowledge of the Lord and want to get more knowledge about Him. They surrender to the Lord. The Gyanis are of the four, the Gyanis are the most superior. But Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj didn't fit into any of those four categories because they were so fortunate. So Parikshit Maharaj is very humbly inquiring from Sukadeva Goswami that how did they get this good fortune? What did they do? He's asking that because he wants to find out what to do for himself. Yes.
From Krishna's boyhood to his childhood, and from his childhood to his youth, Mother Yashoda was always in association with Krishna. Even when Krishna was grown up, he would go to Vrindavan and sit on the lap of Mother Yashoda. Therefore, there is no comparison to the fortune of Mother Yashoda and Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj naturally inquired, Yashoda da Mahabhaga, Purport 10.8.46, Srimad Bhagavatam. Papoho yasyaha sthanam hari.
So the great fortune benedicted to Mother Yashoda from Krishna was that he drank milk from her breast. Papo means to drink, yasya, of the breast, stanam, hari. So Sri Krishna would drink milk from her breast. Now this was a complete mystery to Parikshit Maharaj, how she got this great fortune to become the mother of Krishna and to never be separated from him. Parikshit Maharaj, he only had one fraction of a moment of darshan of the Supreme Lord while he was still in the womb. And for the rest of his life, he was Parikshit, he was examining, where is the Lord? But Mother Yashoda was never separated from the Lord throughout his childhood until he finally left. And then, because of intense separation, that separation and that crying and that feeling of viyog, that not having Krishna right in front of him, in front of her, as she usually did throughout his whole childhood. From that feeling of separation, Krishna was always with her as well because she was always thinking of Krishna. So her whole life, she was engaged in just serving Krishna, loving Krishna, and later feeling intense separation from Krishna.
Although Krishna was so pleased with Vasudeva and Devaki that he descended as their son, they could not enjoy Krishna's magnanimous childhood pastime, which are so great that simply chanting about them vanquishes the contamination of the material world. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, however, enjoyed these pastimes fully, and therefore their position is always better than that of Vasudeva and Devaki. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.47.
So this is the sloka that's describing this special fortune of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, and comparing the two sets of parents, that Vasudeva and Devaki, they engaged in so much tapasya and penance and austerities, and Krishna, then being pleased with them, gave them the benediction that he would become their son 3 times, and then they would be liberated. So this was a particular type of fortune, but their fortune in no way compared to the fortune of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. So Parikshit was trying to understand what was the difference between the two sets of parents, that one was able to enjoy all of these nectarian childhood pastimes, and the other was sitting in Mathura in separation in jail.
Krishna actually took birth from the womb of Devaki, but just after his birth, he was transferred to the home of Mother Yashoda. Devaki could not even have Krishna suck her breast. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj was astonished. How had Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj become so fortunate that they enjoy the complete childhood pastime of Krishna, which are still glorified by saintly persons? What had they done in the past by which they were elevated to such an exalted position? Purport, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.847.
Now we see here how Krishna is actually serving his father. His father says to Krishna, "Bring my shoes." And Krishna, being just a small boy, 2 or 3 years old, he picks up the shoes, he puts them on his head, and he carries them to his father. So this is the topmost relationship in Vatsalya Bhav, to enjoy these childhood pastimes between Yashoda, Nanda, and Krishna. And we'll hear more about this particular pastime now.
In 1975 in Berkeley, Prabhupada was shown Parikshit Das' new painting of baby Krishna carrying Nanda Maharaj's shoes on his head. Prabhupada liked the painting very much. Just see how Krishna is serving his devotee just like a little child, Prabhupada said. He also pointed out that Parikshit had not spoiled the painting by putting big hairs, whereas Jadurani always put big hairs. Woman is very fond of big hairs.
So this was at the time of the painting, the first time Prabhupada saw that painting, this one. He liked it very much, especially because it was realistic. A little child doesn't have long hairs. So there was another painting. You see on the bottom, that's the first painting of it. And Prabhupada commented that Krishna's hair, it only comes down to his shoulder. But they would always put this big hair on Krishna. So then they repainted, see, they removed the hair. You can see here the paintings here in Prabhupada's house. So fortunately you can adjust like that when you're painting pictures.
When Krishna was a child, he playfully took the shoes of his father, Nanda Maharaj, and put them on his head. People may try very hard to become one with God, but actually we can surpass that. We can become Father of God. Of course, God is the Father of all creatures, and He has no father Himself, but He accepts His devotee, His lover, as a father. Let others worship the Shrutis and others Smritis. All these Vedic literature and others Mahabharat for liberation. But I shall worship Nanda Maharaj because in his courtyard the Param Brahma is loitering. I shall worship Nanda Maharaj. He is so powerful that he has made the Param Brahma to come there and carry to his shoes.
So this is a slight explanation in two different places by Srila Prabhupada, how one becomes the father of the Lord. People are trying to either become God or become one with God. But Prabhupada says the devotee can become even greater than God. They can become the father of God. Although God has no father, he makes his devotee into his father so they can enjoy that relationship. And this is a prayer that we heard a few days ago. How a devotee, this is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he's saying let other people worship the Shrutis, the Smritis and the Itihasas, but I'll worship Nanda Maharaj because he has that same Param Brahman crawling around in his courtyard. And also here, Prabhupada says carrying his shoes.
Devotee. Srila Prabhupada, I was asked a question by a man. He asked that Lord Ramachandra was praying to Lord Shiva in the Ramayana, and so he is taking Lord Shiva as being God. And we did not have a clear answer to him. Could you just instruct us, please, on this matter? Why? What reason?
So this sometimes comes up when we're preaching, that Lord Ram worshipped Lord Shiva, and therefore the Shivites claim that Shiva is supreme, and they worship Shiva because even Ram worships Shiva. So this new devotee couldn't understand how to answer this man and how to defeat him. So he came to Prabhupada and asked this question.
Prabhupada, Lord Ramachandra worshipped his devotees, just like sometimes Krishna worshipped Radharani and touched her feet. Krishna was tolerating ear pulling by Mother Yashoda. That does not mean that Mother Yashoda is the supreme. Krishna was carrying the wooden shoes of Nanda Maharaj. So that does not mean Nanda Maharaj is greater than Krishna. It is Krishna's pleasure. Sometimes a father carries the son on the shoulder. Does it mean the father is inferior than a son? This is third class. This is third class men's conclusion. They do not know what is Krishna, what is Rama. Krishna says, Aham Adir Hi Devanam, Bhagavad-Gita 10.2. He is the origin of Lord Shiva. So how Shiva can be the supreme? We have to consult Shastra. Krishna does not say that Shiva is supreme. If a third class man says Shiva is supreme, we have to accept it. We are preaching Krishna consciousness. Whatever Krishna says, that is supreme, not a third class man's version. Is it clear?
So in this way, Srila Prabhupada clears up the question of the devotee, that Krishna worships his devotees. You see here, Krishna is massaging the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. He's taken the form of Shamasaki and approached her to worship her, massage her feet. Previously, in Vatsalya Ras, we saw that Krishna was carrying the shoes of his father. Sometimes his father would carry him on his shoulder. That doesn't mean that the devotee is superior to the Supreme Lord. It means the Supreme Lord is taking pleasure in worshipping and serving his devotee. Everything is centered around Krishna, not centered around the devotee. The devotee only wants to please Krishna, and Krishna sometimes, he takes pleasure in worshipping and serving his own devotees. So that's the answer about why Lord Ramachandra worshipped Shiva, and in this circumstance, why Lord Krishna serves his father.
When the best of the Vasus of the name Drona, along with his wife Dhara, were ordered to increase progeny by Lord Brahma, they said unto him, "Dear father, we are seeking your benediction." Drona and Dhara then took benediction from Brahma that in the future, when they would take birth again within the universe, the Supreme Lord Krishna, in his most attractive feature of childhood, would observe their whole attention. Their dealings with Krishna would be so powerful that simply by hearing of Krishna's childhood activities with them, anyone could very easily cross over the nescience of birth and death. Lord Brahma agreed to give them the benediction, and as a result, the same Drona appeared as Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan, and the same Dhara appeared as Mother Yashoda, the wife of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna Book, Chapter 8.
So Sukadeva has begun explaining, answering Parikshit Maharaj's question about what Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj had done in their previous life to attain this great fortune. And Sukadeva first explains who they were in their previous life. So the Vasus, they are the sons of Kashyapa and Aditi, the different primary demigods. Therefore they're calling Lord Brahma father because he's grandfather. From Brahma came Kashyapa. So they were living in the heavenly planets as demigods, and when Brahma told them to produce progeny, they prayed that the Supreme Lord will become their son so that he could display his most attractive childhood pastimes, by which all the people who hear these pastimes can become liberated and go back to the spiritual world. So their desire was twofold. One, that they have the Lord as their son, and two, that by enacting these pastimes, anyone could become purified and liberated. So they were pure devotees. They wanted everyone to get the benefit of seeing, hearing, and meditating on Krishna's pastimes. So this was Drona and Dhara. And they were even prepared to take birth on the earthly planet so they could take part in Krishna's pastimes in the universe. They knew that he wasn't going to appear in the heavenly planet as Krishna. He appears on the earthly planet.
Shukdev Goswami said, to follow the orders of Lord Brahma, Drona, the best of the Vasus, along with his wife Dhara, spoke to Lord Brahma in this way. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.48. As stated in Brahma Samhita 5.37. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Bhes Tabhe Ya Eva Nij Rupataya Kalabhi Goloka Eva Nivasati Akhilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. When Krishna descends anywhere, he is accompanied by his own associates. These associates are not ordinary living beings. Krishna's pastimes are eternal, and when he descends, he comes with his associates. Purport 10.8.48 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So this is the counterpart of what Prabhupada said in the Krishna book. And here Prabhupada, he gives further explanation that the eternal associates of the Lord, they're not the same as the persons in the material world who perform tapasya and different types of austerities, punya, pious activities, to attain the Lord's association. They have two different sources. One comes with the Lord from the eternal spiritual world, and the other is coming up within the material world to enter into the Lord's eternal pastimes.
Maharaj Parikshit knew this, but he was curious to know from Shukadeva Goswami whether it is possible for an ordinary human being to come to this stage by sadhana, siddhi. There are two kinds of perfection, nitya siddhi and sadhana siddhi. A nitya siddh is one who is eternally Krishna's associates and expansions of Krishna's personal body. Whereas a sadhana siddh is an ordinary human being who, by executing pious activities and following regulative principles of devotional service, also comes to that stage. Thus, the purpose of Maharaj Parikshit's inquiry was to determine whether an ordinary human being can attain the position of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Shukadeva Goswami answered this question as follows. Purport 10.848 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So, now we understand the internal reason why Parikshit Maharaj is asking this question, that how is it possible for an ordinary living entity to get such great fortune as Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj received? He couldn't understand what they could have possibly have done to get this fortune and what Devaki and Vasudeva didn't do that they couldn't get this fortune. Now, in the next verse, Sukadeva Goswami will begin explaining.
Drona and Dhara said, "Please permit us to be born on the planet Earth, so that after our appearance, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller and Master of all planets, will also appear and spread devotional service, the ultimate goal of life, so that those born in this material world may very easily be delivered from the miserable condition of materialistic life by accepting this devotional service." Srimad Bhagavatam 10.849.
So we can see here that the mentality of Drona and Dara is exactly the same mentality as Sri Krishna. Why does he come to the material world? For this reason, so that people can be delivered from the miserable condition of materialistic life. So the pure devotee, who's a Nitya Siddha, he comes here for the exact same reason that Krishna comes here. Just as Srila Prabhupada, he told us he never forgot Krishna for 1 second of his life. So he was sent by Krishna to help to bring the conditioned souls back to the Supreme Lord. It's a completely different mentality than those who are coming up from conditioning. Some are coming down, they're descending with the Supreme Lord to display his eternal pastimes, and others are coming up with the aspiration to enter into those pastimes.
This statement by Drona clearly indicates that Drona and Dhara are the eternal father and mother of Krishna. Whenever there is a necessity of Krishna's appearance, Drona and Dhara appear first, and then Krishna appears. Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita that his birth is not ordinary. Janma karma chame divyam. Bhagavad-Gita 4:9. Ajo api san avya atma bhutanam ishvaro api san prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Bhagavad-Gita 4.6, purport 10.8.49 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So there's scheduled appearances of the Lord, And Lord Brahma, in one day of Lord Brahma, the Lord Sri Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, he appears once in the 28th Divya Yuga of that day. And when he appears, because he's enjoying eternally in Goloka Vrindavan with his eternal associates, and when he comes, he brings all of his associates with him, and he brings his Dham with him also. And where we're sitting right now is that circuit house of where Krishna appeared, and all of his devotees appeared with him. So they're descending, and the others, Devaki and Vasudeva, they are ascending to take part in those pastimes. And there's a meeting point, and that meeting point is here in Boma Vrindavan, in Gokul. So Yashoda and Nanda, they were expansions of Krishna's own body in the spiritual world. They are enjoying these Vatsalya Ras pastimes eternally with Krishna there in Goloka Vrindavan, the Aprakat Leela. And now temporarily, this Prakat Leela will be manifest to attract the conditioned souls back to the spiritual world.
Before Krishna's appearance, Drona and Dhara appear in order to become his father and mother. It is they who appear as Nanda Maharaj and his wife Yashoda. In other words, it is not possible for a sadhana siddh living being to become the father or mother of Krishna. For Krishna's father and mother are already designated. But by following the principles exhibited by Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda and their associates, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, ordinary living being may attain such affection as exhibited by Nanda and Yashoda. Purport 10.849 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So Srila Prabhupada calls this a form of Mayavada. When we think that we can become Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, Radharani, Lalita, Vishaka, or even the Manjaris, we can attain the same type of affection as these eternal Nitya Siddha Bhaktas of the Lord. But we don't become them. Just like we don't become Krishna, we don't become Mother Yasoda. We can get the same rasa, the same mood of serving Krishna, but we are another individual identity in the spiritual world. And depending upon the particular taste or rasa that we have for serving Krishna, we can see the supreme perfection of love, for instance in this Vatsalya Ras, of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and we can learn from them how to serve Krishna as a beloved son.
When Drona and Dhara were requested to beget children, they choose to come to this world to have the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their son, Krishna. Krishna's appearance means Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Cha Dushkritam, Bhagavad-Gita 4.8. The devotees are protected and the miscreants are vanquished. Whenever Krishna comes, he distributes the highest goal of life, devotional service. He appears as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the same purpose, because unless one comes to devotional service, one cannot be delivered from the miseries of the material world. Dukhalyam Ashashvatam, Bhagavad-Gita 8.15, where the living beings struggle for existence. Purport 10.8.49 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So Dukha Laya means the place of miseries. Alaya means like a building, some location. So this location is simply miserable. And Ashashvatam. Ashashvatam. A means without, and Shashvata means eternal. There's no basis here, there's no foundation. It's all temporary. It's temporary and it's miserable. So when Krishna comes, he demands surrender. He tells Arjuna, you simply surrender to me, I will protect you from all sinful reactions. You don't have to worry. But he doesn't explain the process of surrender. It's when Lord Chaitanya comes and he puts himself in the place of a bhakta to teach us how to perform devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So by studying the teachings that Lord Chaitanya gave to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and his other followers, and by seeing his activities, we can learn how to perform devotional service pleasingly to the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. So this is the purpose for all of the incarnations of the Lord. But primarily, when the Supreme Lord himself comes in the form of Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we learn the process of surrender and the activities to attain the pure love of Krishna through devotional service.
The Lord says in Bhagavad-Gita 15.7, Mama vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Because of conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entities are struggling to become happy, but unless they take to the bhakti cult, their happiness is not possible. Purport 10.8.49 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, setting the example of a perfect devotee, gave up his householder life, took sannyas, and then for 6 years traveled and preached, eventually he came to visit Vrindavan. Only one time he came to Vrindavan. And when he was in Vrindavan, he set the example of what we should do here. He went on Brajmando Parikrama to all the 12 forests. And after visiting Govardhan, Radhakund, Shamakund, Kamyavan, he finally came to Nandishwar, Nandagram. And there he was able to take darshan of Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda, and child Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught us how we should engage in devotional activities in this lifetime. Because he was playing the part of devotee, now we know how we should spend our time in devotional service in this lifetime, because we're all the small particle of the Supreme Lord. We're all struggling with our senses, including our mind, and therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us how to engage our senses and mind in visiting the holy places and worshipping the Supreme Lord in all those holy places.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Nandishwara. While there, he was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. Nandishwara is the house of Maharaj Nanda. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed in all the celebrated lakes, beginning with Lake Pavan. The Pavan Sarovar is described in the Mathura Mahatmya. One who bathes in Pavan Lake by Nandishwar Hill will see Krishna there along with Nand and Yashoda and will fulfill all his desires. Thereafter he climbed a hill and spoke to the people. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, "Are there any deities on the top of this hill?" The local people replied, "There are deities on this hill, but they are located within a cave. There are a father and mother with well-built bodies, and between them is a very beautiful child who is carved in 3 places." Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. After excavating the cave, he saw the 3 deities. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his respects to Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, and with great ecstatic love, he touched the body of Lord Krishna, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 18.
So with our mundane senses, we might think that Krishna is not here anymore, he's gone back to the spiritual world. Now we're bereft of his darshan because he performed his pastimes 5,000 years ago. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just 500 years ago, a little bit more, he showed us, and also according to Mathura Mahatmya, just by bathing in Pavan Sarovara, we can get the darshan of Nanda and Yashoda even now, and all of our desires can be fulfilled. And at that time, 500 years ago, because the Muslims were constantly ravaging the area, in fact, just before this, he had gone to Govardhan, and the Gopal deity had to be hidden because the Muslims were coming. So Gopal came down from the top of Govardhan because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us, he set the example that a Vaishnava never sets his foot on Govardhan. So because he wanted to have darshan of Gopal, Gopal came down to see him. And for 3 days, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had darshan of Gopal, then Gopal went on to Mathura. Finally, he's being worshipped now as Srinathji in Rajasthan. So here in Nandagram, where Nanda Maharaj lived after in the later pastimes of Sri Krishna, Mahaprabhu was able to have direct darshan of them. Those deities are now visible. We can go there any time and take their darshan. It's just a matter of our purified senses. If we can understand that Krishna is still enjoying his pastimes here, though we can't see him with these mundane senses, and we purify our senses by engaging in devotional service and chanting Hare Krishna.
Krishna clearly says, Ashradhana Purusha Dharmasya Asya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nirvantante Mrityu Samsar Vartamani. Those who are not faithful on the path of devotional service cannot attain me. O conqueror of foes, but return to birth and death in this material world. Bhagavad-Gita 9.3. Foolish person, do not know how risky life is here if one does not follow the instruction of Krishna. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, has been started so that by practicing Krishna consciousness, one can avoid the risky life of this material existence. Purport, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.49.
So the first step in spiritual life is Shraddha. That's to have a little faith in what we're hearing. And then, by associating with devotees, our faith becomes stronger. Then we take shelter of a guru, and we receive instructions from him. Then we study, according to the acharyas, what they teach about Krishna. And in that way, our faith becomes so strong that we're able to proceed forward on the path back to Godhead. Because a living entity, he's never inactive. He's either going up or he's going down. He can't stay in one place. So either we have faith in the words of Krishna in the Bhagavad-Gita, how he gives instructions personally, in the words of Srimad Bhagavatam, these are about Krishna and Krishna's devotees, the stories in Bhagavatam. And then finally we come to Chaitanya Charitamrita, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, where we actually learn how devotees attain perfection by engaging in devotional service now, even 500 years ago.
There is no question of accepting or not accepting Krishna consciousness. It is not optional, it is compulsory. If we do not take to Krishna consciousness, our life is very risky. Everything is explained in Bhagavad-Gita. Therefore, to learn how to become free from the miserable condition of material existence, Bhagavad-Gita as it is the primary study. Then, if one understands Bhagavad-Gita, one can proceed to Srimad Bhagavatam. And if one advance further, one may study Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are therefore presenting these invaluable books to the world so that people may study them and be happy, being delivered from miserable condition life. Purport 10.8.49 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So yesterday we heard how the mother and father, their love is so pure, they never expect anything from the child. So any devotee, we don't ask anything from the Supreme Lord. Just like coming up next chapter, we'll hear about the Damodar Leela. And Satyavrata Muni, he wrote the Damodar Astakam. So he writes there, I don't want liberation, I don't want birth in, I don't want to attain Vaikuntha, I don't even want the 9 processes of devotional service. All I want is that you please bless me with your darshan and the ability to serve you. Even if you send me to hell, it doesn't matter. So Satyavrata Muni, he's explaining that for the devotee, he's only concerned with pleasing Krishna. So when Krishna decides to come here, he comes along with the Lord. And he performs the exact same purpose that the Lord is coming here for. He preaches Krishna consciousness, and he tries to attract people back to the spiritual world by displaying blissful pastimes with the Lord. So first we hear the Lord's simple instructions in 700 verses, the Bhagavad-Gita, where the ultimate perfection is to finally surrender to Krishna. Then in 18,000 verses we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, how the devotees have surrendered to the Lord and what the pitfalls are. We heard today about Brihaspati. Their fall downs. Even the greatest devotees, they experience problems in their devotional life. But from reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we learn how to overcome those problems. And then finally, when we've studied Srimad Bhagavatam, we come to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Chaitanya Charitamrita, where we learn how to perfect our devotional service and finally go back to Godhead. And what does going back to Godhead mean? It means wherever the Lord goes, we go with Him.
In this way, Nanda Maharaj and his wife, Mother Yashoda, developed their unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having gotten Him as their son. And all the gopis and cowherd men who were associates of Krishna naturally developed their own different feelings of love for Krishna. Therefore, just to fulfill the benediction of Lord Brahma, Lord Krishna appeared along with his plenary expansion, Balaram, and performed all kinds of childhood pastimes in order to increase the transcendental pleasure of all residents of Vrindavan. Thus ends the Bhakti-Vedanta purport of the 8th chapter of Krishna, Vision of the Universal Form, Krishna Book, Chapter 8.
So here it said that Krishna, to fulfill the benediction of Lord Brahma, he appeared as the son of Nanda and Yashoda. So in the next Leela also, we'll see that Krishna does things just because his devotees have given benedictions to different people. When Nalakuvera and Manigriva, they had no qualification whatsoever to see the Supreme Lord. They hadn't performed any pious activities. They were debauchees. But because they prayed for the mercy of Narada Muni, Krishna was obligated, because his pure devotee Narada Muni gave them the benediction that they would see the Lord. So then Krishna had to fulfill that benediction. So now Lord Brahma has given the benediction to Drona and Dara that he would become their child. Brahma didn't even ask Krishna beforehand. But Krishna was obligated then, that my pure devotee, he says that I'm going to become their son, so therefore I have to become their son. So he comes as their son, along with Balaram, because the whole Krishna book is all about Krishna and Balaram. in the very first questions that were asked of the sages, asked to Sutta Goswami, Sonak Rishi, he's asking Sutta Goswami, they want to hear about Krishna and Balaram, Ram and Keshava, and all the naughty things these two kapats did. So here we are in the 10th canto, we're getting full dose of Krishna Balaram Leela.
When Brahma said, "Yes, let it be so," the most fortunate Drona, who was equal to Bhagavan, appeared in Vrajapura, Vrindavan, as the most famous Nanda Maharaj, and his wife Dhara appeared as Mother Yashoda. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.50. Because whenever Krishna appears on this earth, he superficially needs a father and mother. Drona and Dhara, his eternal father and mother, appeared on earth before Krishna as Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. In contrast to Sutapa and Prishni, they did not undergo severe penance and austerities to become the father and mother of Krishna. This is the difference between Nitya Siddh and Sadhana Siddh. Purport 10.8.50 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So this is the supreme secret that Sukadeva Goswami is now giving to us. The difference between Nitya Siddha, that's Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, who descend with Krishna for the same purpose that Krishna has come, Paritanaya Sadhunam, Vinashaya Chaduskritam, and the Sadhana Siddha, who was praying for the Lord to become their son, but so that they can enjoy his pastimes. It's a different mood. So sadhana means following all the regulative principles, engaging in tapasya, just like we're engaging in. This is sadhana. Rupa Goswami he's given that sadhana bhakti in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And from performing sadhana bhakti, because sadhana means to practice, practice makes perfect. So as we perform sadhana bhakti, we come to the level of, it becomes a natural thing for us to do all of these things. It's not that we're performing the regulative principles, following all the rules and regulations, and when we're perfected, we don't have to follow the rules and regulations anymore. No, we perform all the rules and regulations with love for Krishna. Nanda Maharaj, he observed Ekadasi. They observed even more ceremonies, more than what we do, because we're just beginners now. So the sadhana siddha, they're coming up, and the nitya siddha, they're descending with Krishna. Excuse me? Coming up, they're being elevated to Krishna. Coming up means they're being elevated to associate with Krishna from a conditional state, because they performed this sadhana bhakti. They perform tapasya, they perform pious activities, therefore they've been rewarded with Krishna's association. But Drona and Dhara, they didn't perform tapasya and austerity according to what's written here. They wanted to descend with Krishna to display his eternal pastimes that are going on in the spiritual world.
Thereafter, O Maharaj Parishit, west of Bharats, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead became the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they maintained continuous, unswerving devotional love in parental affection. And in their association, all the other inhabitants of Vrindavan, the Gopas and Gopis, developed the culture of Krishna Bhakti. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.51.
So when Krishna descends to Boma Vrindavan with his Nitya Siddha Bhaktas, it's at this place that the sadhana siddhas can come and associate with Krishna and the Nitya Siddhas. And in that way, they can learn from the Nitya Siddhas further how to engage in pure devotional service. It's not that only the Nitya Siddhas get to associate eternally with Krishna. No, there's a process. And Prabhupada explains that, for instance, ourselves, we're struggling to engage in sadhana bhakti. And hopefully by the end of this lifetime, we'll become perfected enough that Krishna will allow us to go on to proceed and take birth in the universe where he's having his pastimes. And in that birth, we get to associate with the Nityasiddhas and learn further how to become a pure devotee of the Lord. Then after that lifetime, we get to return to the spiritual world. So it's a process, and this is the process of going upwards, back to Godhead. The Nityasiddhas are coming with Krishna, and the sadhana siddhas, they get the opportunity to associate with Krishna and the Nityasiddhas in this Bhoma Vrindavan Leela.
Although when the Supreme Personality of Godhead stole the butter, yogurt and milk of the neighboring Gopas and the Gopis, this teasing superficially seemed troublesome. In fact, it was an exchange of affection and the ecstasy of devotional service. The more the Gopas and Gopis exchanged feelings with the Lord, the more their devotional service increased. Sometimes we may superficially see that a devotee is in difficulty because of being engaged in devotional service. But the fact is different. When a devotee suffers for Krishna, that suffering is transcendental enjoyment. Unless one becomes a devotee, this cannot be understood. Purport 10.8.51 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So you'll see within these Braja Leela, the devotees often have to take shelter of Krishna because of different distresses that are coming upon them. The prime example is when Indra attacked Braja, and he wanted to kill all of the cows and all the inhabitants because they failed to offer Indra Puja that year, and they listened to this talkative little boy Krishna. So they were in great distress. There was a flood, and the only thing they could do was take shelter of Krishna. And then Krishna, with the little finger of his left hand, lifted up Govardhan Hill, and for 7 days and 7 nights, Krishna and all the associates in Braj, they were together. They had non-stop darshan of Krishna for those 7 days and 7 nights. There was no hunger, there was no thirst. They simply sang songs and had nice prasadam there together. 7 days and 7 nights. So what was distress, what appeared to be distress, became the greatest joy. So I think we just have one more clip. We'll finish that, then we'll go on to chapter 9.
When Krishna exhibited his childhood pastime, not only did Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda increase their devotional affection, but those in their association also increased in devotional service. In other words, person who follows the activities of Vrindavan will also develop devotional service in the highest perfection. Purport 10.8.51 Srimad Bhagavatam.
So this is giving a chance for us to enter into those pastimes. We're not just reading this book, Krishna book, to pass time during the lockdown. Actually, by studying Krishna book and Srimad Bhagavatam very carefully, we learn the secret of how to enter into Krishna's pastimes. So this is actually the greatest opportunity for us. Parikshit Maharaj at the very beginning, he said, when he asked the second question, he said, generally people don't even like to hear about Krishna's Leela. They prefer to hear about material activities. And by hearing about material activities, they become engaged in material existence. But if we just apply ourselves to hear about Krishna's transcendental pastimes, we become attracted, and by hearing about how the devotees serve Krishna, we learn also how to serve Krishna. This is the secret of going back to Godhead, hearing.
Thus, the Supreme Personality, Krishna, along with Balaram, lived in Vrajbhumi, Vrindavan. Just to substantiate the benediction of Brahma, by exhibiting different pastimes in his childhood, he increased the transcendental pleasure of Nanda and the other inhabitants of Vrindavan. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.52. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 10th canto, 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Krishna shows the universal form within his mouth.
So because Krishna and everything about Krishna is absolute, Krishna displayed these pastimes here in Vrindavan about 5,000 years ago. Now he's returned to the spiritual world, but this is the spiritual world. It's not that we have to die and go back to Godhead. In this very lifetime we can go back to Godhead if we're engaged in pure devotional service. That means that Krishna and Balaram, Radha and Krishna, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi, they're all here in this eternal realm of Vrindavan. Just we can't see them because our senses are covered with material contamination. So as we become purified, all of these pastimes become revealed to us even in this lifetime. Hare Krishna.